Hey, it's still May. We're still talking about Star Wars. There's still a lot going on in Star Wars. And there's a ton that has gone down in not one, not two, but all three episodes of Andor this week. Let's just jump into this. Hey, if you haven't watched Andor yet, go check it out, watch it, then come back to this video and let's discuss these last three episodes 7, 8, and 9 are incredible. I'm just going to say it. They're incredible. There's a lot going on in them, but it's all stuff that we can expect to come from the last 6 episodes that we had. So, hey, pause here, go watch them, come back, and then hit us up in the comments. Tell us what you are thinking about this series. We really want to know, and we really want to discuss it. And I've been dying because I'm flying solo again. Hey, geeks, get with the picture here. Star Wars Andor is incredible. A little bit slow at times. I'll admit that. Second set of 3, a little slow. Wasn't everybody's cup of tea. Definitely my cup of tea, though. So let's get into these 3 episodes that we have for this week. We got 7, 8, and 9. The Messenger, Who Are We, and Welcome to the Rebellion. As we jump back into the story of Andor, the Messenger finds us on a familiar planet. We're on Yavin. Andor, Cass, and his girlfriend have fled Coruscant and are trying to live I won't say a simpler life. They're trying to live a different life. They're not trying to do espionage, it seems. Even there's talk that Cassian is going to get promoted, and his buddy Willman comes in and is like, "Hey, I need help." Even though he's given them the, third degree of where have you been? What have you been doing? We're leaving that life behind us. What are you doing? Where have you been? Like, this is the good life. The good life of the rebellion, not necessarily a quiet life in its own right, but good life of the rebellion. We get a very interesting scene as a part of this episode, and that is something that is not talked about much in Star Wars. So if you're a big Star Wars nerd just like me, Star Wars to you is really 2 things. It's Jedis with lightsabers, and it's stormtroopers with blasters. Now, Jedis is all about the Force and the way of the Force and this cult religion ideology that's out there. And the Force, when you really think about it and dive into it and think about the Star Wars universe, shouldn't just be these warrior monks that are really soldiers because they're using light swords, laser swords here, and force powers to fight one another and to be kind of the police force of the galaxy and settle what's right and wrong and good and evil. But there should also be another element to it, a more religious element to it. In the original trilogies, we hear people talk about the Force and the Jedis as a hokey religion. And if you have a hokey religion, you should have followers of that hokey religion, right? So we don't see much of that. We don't see much of that in Star Wars. We talk about a little bit in the extended universe and like, oh, Han Solo probably actually was a very force sensitive and he was using the force not even realizing it. Like different characters, we've given them force abilities, but none of that is absolute canon. In this show, we get another instance of the religion. And I know we get it in the sequel trilogy. We don't like to talk about that much. It has nuggets of good things, but for the greater storyline, it's really sequel trilogies are bad. But talking about Andor here, this show gives us a medicine woman. And the only way I can really describe her is she's either a fallen Jedi that's hiding out. She made it out of the massacre and she's hiding out. But we don't see anything that's really like, hey, you're a Jedi just hiding out here. Or she's kind of this layperson of the Jedi faith that is maybe a little force sensitive, maybe can control the force a little bit because she senses and gets a vision from Cass that he has a greater purpose and knows not him by name, but could feel his presence and the hurt that he had at the time. And then she puts her hand on his back where the blaster burn is, where that blaster wound is, that's not healing properly, and it begins to heal properly. If that's not the force, I don't know what it is. And this is a super low key way of bringing the force into the show, a show that has really nothing to do and has no place to do with the Jedi and the Sith. It is purely the rebellion and the empire. So it's fantastic for me to see this and to pick that up. I hope you noticed it as well, and it really is interesting. It really also speaks to Cass having a bigger role and importance and a place to be. Hey, let's not suspend the disbelief here. We all know where this show ends. We are racing to Rogue One, and we have to get there. So right now, they've jumped us ahead to BBY2. We are 2 years away from the Battle of Yavin, and we are on the planet now. We are finally confirmed to be there, and they got a little base going. It looks cool. It looks great. You know, you get the sense that the rebellion is actually started. It's actually picked up, and it's no longer this weak little setup around the universe and tiny little skirmisher groups that are trying to do something, get information or build up supplies or work the system. It's building into a full blown rebellion. And we're gonna get there. First, we gotta get Cass to head back to Gorman because his buddies came and said, hey, the one that's been tracking you down this entire time is there. and her face is out in public. She is walking about unprotected, and you could take her out. Cass goes and sees what's going on there. That was real quick on episode 1, but we gotta jump into episode 2 because this is one of the shining gems of this set of 3, and it's probably the brightest diamond of the bunch. Man, I don't know about you, but watching episode 7 or watching episode 8, I'm sorry, the second of the set of 3 for this week, phenomenal. It absolutely feels like Star Wars. You're thrown back into Gorman, but Gorman isn't just like, the Gorman that Cass was on before. It's not even the Gorman that pulled off a heist of weapons. This is a Gorman that is under lockdown. It is under Imperial control. It has these reporters, let's put that in parentheses because they ain't telling facts. They are hyping up a rebellion on Gorman and an attack on the Empire. So if you support the Empire, these terrible rebel rousers, outside influenced groups are coming in and trying to take your great planet of Gorman. Really, behind the scenes, we see what's going on and know that the Empire has no other option but to destroy Gorman for its resource and its natural source that creates power in the soil. This is a crazy episode because the entire time I knew where it's going. The entire time I could feel the betrayal, the setup, uh, every step. And really, you get that perspective from Cass. Cassian is getting access into a hotel that's right on the block, right at the square, with windows facing the square, able to actually snipe from there if he wants, or just do some surveillance, which he starts off doing. But then the next day, it turns into an insane event where the Empire is pulling back all of its barricades and opening the square up. They want the people of Gorman to come into the square and to create a protest. They want to set this up. Even so much that they are sending in fresh rookies from the Imperial Navy, and you have a bad feeling about them when they show up. They're baby faces. They're young kids. They feel like lambs to the slaughter. I don't know when you were watching it if you felt the same way, but you saw them and you saw their commander kind of just look at them like, this is the group that you sent here. Something's not right. But the upper management and the upper commanders are telling you what to do, and you are going to do it. It definitely, when they brought them in, it felt off. It felt wrong. Felt like something was about to go down. So they open up the square, and as they are opening up the square, you have I'm going to butcher her name, Deidre, who is in charge of Gorman at this time, and her boyfriend kind of having this back and forth on what's your plan and what's going to happen here and how long did you know and why did you what did we do here? What have we been doing? Her boyfriend has been infiltrated into the rebellion and feeding information back and forth, playing both sides. He's that double agent that you know, I never really cared for him. He always had it out for Cass, and I don't think he really had a clue what he really wanted all along. But we'll get back into him in a few. Now, everything's starting to heat up. The rebels are coming out uh intermixed with the regular citizens. And the rebels, we get scenes of them arming up and preparing their guns and preparing Molotov cocktails, essentially, preparing bombs and kind of spreading out amongst everyone. And Star Wars did something that Star Wars does a lot of commentary on history and gives you this feel of different elements of our global history. And one thing they did is the Gormans actually begin to sing. Now, if you're a big a historian as well as a geek like I am, you know of the singing rebellions in the Baltic states where they gained their freedom by protesting and singing. And these chants for Gorman become a song. And you could just feel this kind of like relief, release and relief to the tension. But you could see it was going to go bad because the Empire was not going to bow down to a planet singing at them. They forced the hand and they had their people set up. They sent out these young Navy recruits to be in the middle, to be lambs for the slaughter. They had a sniper on the roof to take shots. Given the order to shoot freely and light them up. Fire at will. And that's exactly what that sniper did. Taking a couple shots at these young Navy recruits. And then finally turning on the civilian population. You had the stormtroopers march in and block off every single exit and just lay waste. Stormtroopers weren't missing this time. We didn't really have too many heroes in the bunch, and they were taking people out left and right. The last couple episodes, you've seen a few faces. None of them super notable. None of them super important, but you've seen them as being built up as part of the rebellion, and you just get to see them annihilate it. We have to witness to the massacre of Gorman, the event that will tip the scales. Cass is caught up in the middle of it. He's able to find his buddy and try to get free of it, but he's going to have to do some fighting of his own. Now we come back to Deidre's boyfriend, who is pissed off and marches out into the middle of everything, seeing it go down. He kind of has a little bit of plot armor because there's a lot of shots around him and does not go down yet. Him and Cass getting a nice little knockout, drag out fight, but does not end well for him. Sorry, I didn't feel bad about that one. You tell me in the comments below. Did you feel bad for him or not? I didn't. His arc kind of stunk. He was a bad guy. Didn't wake up soon enough. Didn't do anything to stop anything. Just kind of went after his own target and opportunist and thinks, I don't know. Not really explained much. But there's so much going on and it's just a bloody mess. People are going down left and right. Explosions are happening. Molotov cocktails are being thrown. This was a crazy episode. Our main hero does get it out. Cass is able to get out of the square. He doesn't complete his mission because too much is going on, but he gets out of the square. He finds his buddy. They're able to make it out. And the most interesting thing that happens is we get a droid. One and own K2SO out in this battle. And a little bit of a tank gets run into him. He gets deactivated. Alan Tudyk, fantastic actor. We get to hear his voice again. But before that, we get the weirdest scene of K2SO just staring down our double agent. Like, oddly, all the other droids are just sitting there looking at each other, not paying attention, just, kind of in a state of like readiness, just stare. And he's turned over and looking directly at him and tracking him and staring at him oddly. This droid is something else. We get to see it from the beginning, even when he's still under his regular Imperial programming. And now he gets knocked out after he was flinging people around like they were just, bags of flour or something. Like, it's just a jug of water to him. He's just out there. Kind of crazy and brutal that the Empire would first massacre a bunch of people with stormtroopers and then let the droids out to mop up more people. Uh, it, it's insanity. Um, crazy episode. I literally watched it and was just like, whoa. I knew this was coming. I knew this Gorman showdown was going to happen. You could read it. If you couldn't tell it from the last 6 episodes, you must have been half awake when you were watching them because they broadcasted this so much. And you also know we had to get closer to the point that we were going to have Rogue One. We got to get closer to the first movies. We had to get closer to the original trilogy storyline because we got to be there by the end of the next set of 3. By the end of episode 12, we need to be first scene of Rogue One. So you knew there had to be something that pushed the rebellion from being this small network of kind of spies and uh, little hit and runs that are pestering to the rebellion and build up to being something more, something palpable, something that the Empire could actually fight and use as an excuse for their brutal campaign and brutal ideologies and brutal control that they need to have over the people. So, end of episode 8, we get people surviving the Battle of Gorman, or the Massacre of Gorman, and we have to see where they fall. Jumping into episode 9. Welcome to the Rebellion. Uh such such an interesting title, and more so an interesting line. This episode actually is back on Coruscant. Rebellion and Gorman has basically been exploded and exploited by the Empire. News outlets are talking of outside agitators and uh, malicious intent, not by the Gormans, and talking about the heroes of the Empire, and the Senate is going to as well. Now we jump back into our political sphere that's about to get blown up itself. Not physically blown up, but in a mental, psychological experience here. We go back to Mon Mothma, and Mon Mothma is hearing of everything that happened with Gorman, is preparing to make a speech, to do something, because she's been championing for Gorman all along, knowing what was going down and trying to do something on the political spectrum, on the legal side, on the up and up. And it's not really happening. Now, pushes come to shove. She's also under fire. If she makes this speech, she's going to get arrested. So Luthen knows it, and Luthen needs to get her out of there. A plan is put in place by the one and only Bail Organa, who is going to get her out after she makes the speech. Bail, on the other hand, does not know that his team is infiltrated. So we get a little bit of spycraft in this episode. We get Luthen talking to Mon Mothma and telling her this fact and revealing to her that her man, her security guy, secretary, has been part of his agency all along. Now, that rubs her completely the wrong way, and she does not know who to trust, and she does not trust Luthen. And she's thinking this was a terrible plan to begin with. It might be terrible plan to begin with, but a rebellion's got to start somewhere. So, and you got to have some way of funding it. If you can skim a little bit off the top from the Empire, you might as do so. They got the funding, so you got to have the money to fight back somehow. Now, Mon Mothma does not leave the Senate all night long. So we already know that one person that's infiltrated her system is her driver, and her driver's been keeping tabs on her. We know that Luthen has her secretary slash security guy that's been keeping watch and protecting her, and he finds a listening device and they destroy it. They've been keeping track of her in the Senate. Surprise anyone? Not really. If you were surprised by this, I don't think you really understand what the Empire is trying to do here. And they're just kind of showing the Senate as being a bully pulpit. You know, they're just using it for the people and pacify people. That's all it is. They're keeping track of everything going on, and they're able to actually go through and eradicate anyone that is a resistance to them. At least that's what they're going to try to do. So if we jump through this episode very quickly, we get a scene, one with Mom Mothma and Luthen, where Luthen tells her what he's told many people before. I'm sending a person. You were going to ask him, who are you looking for? And they are going to say, I have friends everywhere. The I have friends everywhere is the tagline of this secret underground spy network that he's created. And everything is about to fall apart. And he knows it, especially because Mon Mothma is under attack. He doesn't trust Bail Organa because his crews infiltrate it. And somehow Organa also stays in control of his seat, and the Empire thinks nothing of him. So kind of tells you a little bit there. But he's gonna send Andor. Cass is going to go in and have to extract her. She makes her speech the next day. The ISB is freaking out because they don't know what's going down. And Bail Organa yields the floor to Mon Mothma to make this speech and to basically call out and blow up the Empire on what it did to Gorman. Now she has to get out. And behind the scenes, her boy that she doesn't trust right now is in a key spot in the media booth waiting to do whatever he can to get her out. Push comes to shove. Cass gets to her and starts moving her along. But the only way they can get out is walking through that media booth right into the hands of Organa's people, who one was already taken out by the secret agent that was installed into it. The other one has no clue what's going on. And then Mon Mothma's guy takes him out. Well, takes her out. So that way they can escape. Cass has to lead her around, get her to the car, shoots her driver. Not only do they shoot the agent that was trying to arrest them and to abduct her, but they also shoot her driver. So, two bad agent guys off the table. This episode just is killing off characters. Listen, they set up a lot of characters in this show, and a lot of them do not matter. And they had to start taking them off the table. This episode, these last 3 episodes were the episodes to do it. You have massacres, you have spycraft that's gone wrong, and getting rid of them. Now, as they are in the thick of it, trying to escape, Mon Mothma turns to Cass and says, I don't think I can do this. And he says to her, welcome to the rebellion. As a matter of fact, like, you're in it now. We have to go. It's time to do this, time to get out. You know, gets her to the safe house. New plan is put into action. Cass isn't bringing her in. They're bringing in the Gold Squadron to bring her in to Yavin, and they want her to give a speech and to rally up the troops. So very quickly in this episode, we have gone from, in these last 3 episodes, really, we have gone from underground spy network to full-blown rebellion, and the players are in place. This next set of 3 episodes I think is going to be a race through the setup to Rogue One. The last episode, supposedly, the last scene is the first scene of Rogue One. So that is them getting their orders and meeting up and heading out. We're going to see where this goes, and we're going to see how everything sets up. So we can cut it off here. Tell me in the comments, what did you feel about these last three? I was blown away by them. I am loving Andor season 2. Hit me up in there. Tell the rest of the geeks to get on board, and let's actually discuss this further, because there is nothing better than watching these shows and actually discussing it and seeing what everybody else feels about it. That's the fun of this. It is sharing it with our friends. Listen, it is still May. There is another Star Wars show out there. Maybe we'll discuss that. Tell us if you want to hear us talk about it or not. And we'll get a bunch of people together and we're going to watch that and then talk about it. So you hit us up. But next week, Philadelphia, it's Fan Expo. We will be there. If you see any of us, hit us up, say hi. Tell us that you've been following the Geeks at the Nerd Table, and we would love to talk to you and discuss what's going on in the greater geek community. Maybe you can tell us whether it's a DC or a Marvel is going to win this summer. Maybe you can tell us whether you're in love with Andor or you just don't understand the show. Either which way, grab that chair, pull it up to the table, and welcome to the conversation.